Hey guys, this is Hex, and in today's video I wanted to talk about Elder Scrolls Online and to answer the big question, is it worth playing in 2017? Now, as you may or may not know, I got this game on launch for my PS4 and pre-ordered it actually, and uh, and I loved it. But I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys and say, oh, it didn't have problems. It had problems. Of course it did. No MMO is perfect, especially at launch. But for the most part, I loved it. Now, I think it debuted on PC, I think the year before, and let me tell you, as far as debuts go, it was very, very shaky, incredibly shaky. From what I had read and from what I had seen from players, PC players, and from critics, um, the criticism was warranted. Um, but surprisingly, ZeniMax, instead of kind of resting on their laurels, decided to actually get up off their asses and fix the problems, right away. So by the time it came out on console, um, a lot of the issues have been fixed. Now there were still a few problems here and there, but for the most part, as far as consoles and PC went, it was a vastly improved game. Now and ever since then, with update after update, um, ZeniMax has actually listened to their player base. There's some companies that kind of half-ass it and don't really care, uh, but for the most part, ZeniMax has actually listened to their audience, and with that feedback, have made great strides to improve their game. As far as gameplay goes, and make the experience even richer. And of course, they released their DLCs like Orsinium, I think Imperial City, the Thieves Guild, and the Dark Brotherhood. All that stuff, really, really, really good DLCs. But to me, the game changer was when they did the update for One Tamriel. Now, before, if you made a character, whether you had to choose a faction, so you had to be either Ebonheart Pact, Daggerfall Covenant, or Aldemir Dominion. Now, once you chose your character and was starting to go out into the world, you were kind of, in a sense, while there was a lot to explore, it in a sense was kind of landlocked. Well, I guess you could say faction locked. So if you had a buddy that was like on a quest and he needed help, but he was in like Daggerfall Covenant, you couldn't go over there and help him, because it was all locked off. And the only real way that you could even go over to the other areas is, I think, if you beat the story. I think it gives you like, I know for Ebonheart Pact, I think it gives you an option to go to Daggerfall Covenant. But still, right at the get go, you couldn't, like when you first made your character, you really couldn't go truly everywhere. And that, I think, was what was missing um, from the experience. Even ZeniMax, admitted this. Um, and so when One Tamriel came about, um, it lifted the restrictions and tore down the walls. So now the only time that your faction ever matters is in PvP. Now now in PvE you could pretty much go anywhere you want. No matter what level you are. So if you, let's say you were level like 35, for example, and you had a buddy that more or less just started and they were like level 2, they could actually join you no matter which area you're at, because used to be uh, each area that you went into in your faction got progressively harder. Now where they scale it, um, you don't have to really worry about that, but you can go into any area and not worry about getting killed like in two swipes. It's still going to be a little bit hard. I'm not going to lie. It's still going to be a little bit hard for like a early player, because they still haven't acquired the skills that they need to get the harder stuff, but they can still, kind of roam around without getting killed, in about 2 seconds. Uh, but also, the advantages where they had lifted the restrictions is, before where you had like a limit of points to spend on skills, because you had did like all the quests, and you found all the sky shards in your area. Now you could go to other areas and get more quests to get more points to spend, and as well as more sky shards to find to go towards points to go towards your skills. That way, if there was like a skill set that you wanted that you kind of regret not getting into, and you did, but you don't want to go and pay to reset it, now you'll be able to get more points to do that skill set if you wanted. And of course, they also did some improvements like making the dark anchors harder, which I still think they need to make them even more harder, but they're actually harder than what they were. They also made Craglorn more solo friendly, even though there are areas that you're still going to have a group for, and there's even I think even some dungeons that you'll have to have at least another person with you, but still much more friendlier, and some fixes to dungeons as well as having a dueling system to where if you want to challenge your friend or some random person to fight to the death, wherever you're at, then you can go ahead and actually do that. And now, of course, there are going. We had like a Homestead just come out, which if you want to know more about that, I think it's like a couple of videos ago. You can actually go and see example of what that is, as well as the I want to say I'm kind of hesitant to call it expansion, but I don't know what to call it because ZeniMax doesn't call it expansion. But I'll just go ahead and call it expansion for lack of a better word. But they're going to have the expansion Morrowind come out in June, which is going to be, I think they said like 30 more hours of gameplay. And from what I've seen, and actually had seen, I think it was like a few weeks ago that ZeniMax had did like a stream and actually showed gameplay of some of the areas of Morrowind. It looks great. It looks absolutely wonderful. So looking forward to that. But to answer the question, is it worth your time? Like, let's say you've never played it before, or maybe you might have played it in the past and are still kind of shaky. You played it before one Tamriel and they're kind of wondering, I don't know about this. I would definitely give it a shot. There is a ton of quests to do, a ton of quests to do. There's, a lot of area to explore. Um, if you're the exploring type, there's a great amount of land to explore, and just a lot of things to do. Whether you're a solo, you know, or if you have friends that you can, or you can find people um, on the chat, you know, to help you do the some of the group bosses or like the 4-man dungeons, because the community, in my opinion, is really what makes it worth it as well. Because I've been in some games where the community has had some toxic people, and of course you're going to find some toxic people as here as well. But for the most part, um, there is a lot of really good people on here that if you need help, like if you're going into a dungeon, or if you're fighting like a group boss, because group bosses you can't fight by yourself, because you get your butt kicked. But if you need help, and you go into the chat and say, hey, could you please help me at this, particular group boss? Could somebody please help me? If you wait around, somebody's eventually going to come and help you, or somebody will say, yeah, I'll be there in a minute, I'll help you. So it's a very strong, active community um, that for the most part isn't toxic, a good bunch of people. And that's well worth it, just to play a game alone, just to, play with some pretty good people if you don't have like friends that play this game as well. You will be able to find somebody. Um, so yeah, I would definitely recommend this game. And like I said, it's only going to get better as it goes along. But that's all I wanted to talk to you guys for today. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I hope to talk to you guys real soon. Take care.